Hey, it's Leo. Welcome to my channel and happy Pride. How's your Pride been this year? I hope you had some really great adventures and fun times and uplifting moments. Please let me know in the comments below how it was for you. In this video, I'm going to be highlighting two of my favorite queer books that I read in June, and you'll have to stay tuned to my June wrap-up to see the rest of them. I want to give a huge thank you and shout out to Bob the Bookerer. Congratulations on reaching 2,000 subscribers. You and your channel are both amazing, and the love that you are getting is so well deserved. And I just love that you are paying that forward and sharing my channel and many other channels in your shout out, helping build the BookTube community. So congrats again and thank you. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Leo. I'm a trans guy here in Portland, Oregon who loves books, trapeze, and bunch of other stuff. And this video is part of a series I do where I shout out different books written by queer authors or on queer subjects. This is part of my contribution as a content creator at Shoutout PDX. Shoutout PDX is a volunteer-driven, non-monetized digital media outlet that has the goal of sharing news, art, politics, business, and entertainment geared towards the needs of the LGBTQIA+ community in the Pacific Northwest here in the United States. You can find the other fabulous creators at facebook.com/shoutoutpdx. On my channel, with each video, I lift up a different nonprofit that's doing good in the world. It brings me a lot of comfort and strength to see people around the world working hard to make the world a better place, to care for their neighbor, and to connect and build community. And so thank you for letting me share that with you each week. I'll make a donation and I encourage you to check them out. Like, share, follow, or donate as you are inspired. This week, I'm lifting up one of the nonprofits that Bob the Bookerer recently shouted out on his Stand for Trans Kids book tag. If you haven't yet seen that, I'll link the playlist here. That is my original tag that helps us all to say that we stand with trans kids, and there's a variety of prompts and so forth, and one of them is to lift up a different nonprofit that stands with trans kids. And so Bob the Bookerer lifted up 3, and one of them I'd like to make a donation to today, and that is Gendered Intelligence. Gendered Intelligence is a trans-led and trans-involving grassroots organization. It was established in 2008, and it works to increase understandings of gender diversity and improve the lives of trans people in the UK and sometimes abroad. They have a vision of a world where diverse gender expressions are visible and valued, and where trans, non-binary, gender diverse, and gender questioning people live healthy, safe, and fulfilled lives. I loved some of the things that the website said that they were doing. They have a professional and educational services component where they do staff trainings for organizations. They provide speakers and panelists. And I know that speakers telling their story and panelists answering questions has really been helpful in moving hearts and minds in a variety of settings that I've been a part of. And so I love that they're doing that. And they have a whole set of programs that works to serve youth in the community. So they have regular groups in London and Leeds for various youth and age ranges from 8 to 25. They have a group for young trans and gender diverse people of color. And they have swimming sessions, which I think is so important. I know that me as a trans person being in a pool, that's a very stressful situation for both dysphoria and safety and all sorts of reasons. So I love that they're doing swimming sessions. They have mentoring and a parents and carers group and a helpline commissioned, peer support, and so forth, much, much more. So thank you, Bob, for lifting this up and making me aware of this organization. Again, I'll make a donation. I encourage you to check them out. Book 1 that I want to share with you is a 5-star read, and that is Beyond the Gender Binary by Alok Vaid-Menon. And this is a very small book and 64 pages and, short little pages. It's part of the Pocket Change Collective, which is also, I think, a really clever name. And I definitely recommend this book. The synopsis says, Alok Vaid-Menon challenges the world to see the gender not in black and white, but in full color. Taking from their own experiences as a gender non-conforming artist, they show us that gender is a malleable and creative form of expression. The only limit is your imagination. This is a really powerful book that helps people understand gender diversity and to look beyond the binary categories of male and female. It starts off with a really powerful sentence. The days that I feel most beautiful are the days I am most afraid. Alok brings their personal lived experiences in struggling to feel connected to their body, in finding joy and authenticity in their own creative self-expression, but also then the harassment and danger that they face by being free and living fully into their body. Alok challenges us to understand their experiences and why they face hate and discrimination so regularly. I also appreciated that there was a power analysis in the responses of society to people who are living beyond the gender binary. They also then explore common fallacies and misconceptions and provide answers to those that are really helpful. They even provide deeper nuance to some things that may seem pretty straightforward. Some of the statements that Alok probes and provides reflections on that would come from another person, like, I get that you're different, but why do you need to shove it in my face? Keep it to yourselves. And then there's a reflection on that. Or, if we provide protection and accommodation on the basis of gender identity, then women will be harmed. Another example is, you're making everything up about gender, stop bringing it up if you want it to go away. And they discuss how that is a deliberate strategy of rhetoric. This book ends with powerful affirmation, encouragement, and a beautiful articulation of a world where all thrive, not just exist, where we celebrate creative expression, not just adhering to norms, and where we don't have to spend so much time making other people feel comfortable just in order to survive. Again, this is beautiful, it's powerful, it's short, so it's not going to be a deep dive, but I think it's something that everyone can get something out of. Again, that is Beyond the Gender Binary by Alok Vaid-Menon, and I give it 5 stars. The next book I want to recommend is The Witch King by H.E. Edgman, and this one I'm going to give 4.5 stars. This is a fantasy romance YA debut novel. I believe the second one is just coming out now. The tagline is, to save a Fey kingdom, a trans witch must face his traumatic past and the royal fiancé he left behind. So there are content warnings for this. I'm actually going to link down in the description box below a link to the Storygraph content warnings for both of the books that I've mentioned today. And so I definitely recommend you check those out. The Witch King is a story about a fantasy kingdom that is in the human world but hidden from it. In this kingdom, there are Fae and witches, and Fae are the ruling class and witches are ostracized. And it's not a genetic thing, it's maybe more like a queer analogy where a Fae family can birth a witch child. And sometimes, because of the discrimination in that community, they even leave it out in the forest to die. Our protagonist, Wyatt, is a trans teenager who has run away from the kingdom into the human city and found refuge with a pretty cool family. He's run away from the kingdom because he caused a massive fire which caused some deaths as an act of self-defense. Again, some of that is related to the content warning that I'm referring you to. At the start of the book, his ex-fiancée comes and finds him in the human world and wants him to come back so that they can complete the wedding and be married, as they are both contractually bound by blood oaths. The prince says this is necessary because there's a rival who is trying to take his place on the throne. I thought the book raised some interesting questions, and one of the things that propelled me through the story was wondering what the character was going to do in this situation where they have come out and found their identity as a trans man, and they're being taken back to this kingdom to basically be a baby maker for the king. The book wrestled with concepts such as bigotry and police violence, consent versus forced child rearing, and the problematic nature of a fairy tale kingdom and what that means for hierarchy and patriarchy and so forth. In the book, the language is contemporary, the characters are likable. The problems facing them were interesting, and the stakes I felt were high and kept getting raised, and things kept getting complicated, but in interesting ways, and I kept turning the pages wondering, like, how was the author going to resolve all of this? And I was satisfied with how things came together. So I'm going to recommend this book for folks who like a YA fantasy romance that deals with contemporary issues and maybe gives you some things to think about in terms of societal structures and the way things operate. And I'm definitely looking forward to book 2 in the series. And I gave it 4.5 stars. So have any of you read either of these books? What'd you think of them? Do you have any recommendations for books that deal with real life issues in either like fantasy allegories or, nonfiction explanations in really digestible formats? I would love to hear more about them. Also, I just finished binge watching season 3 of The Umbrella Academy. I don't know if any of you saw that, but I loved how Elliot Page is coming out in real life as a trans man was just rolled into that storyline, and his character then also came out as trans, and they rolled with that, and I thought that was really well done, and I loved seeing it. I found it so intriguing about how the characters in the plot just kept me engaged and sucked in, even though it's, just off the wall, wild plot and characters, some of them shouldn't be likable, but they are, and some of the ones that I should be rooting for, I just kept getting mad at, and definitely the writers and producers were manipulating my emotions with this show. But I found it so intriguing from a storytelling point of view. And then the ending, I'm assuming there's going to be a season 4, but the ending, I was not as satisfied as I thought I would be. So anyway, I don't know. I'd love to know, have any of you watched it? And without any spoilers in the comments, like, what did you think of the ending, or what did you think of how the characters developed this season? So yeah, it's got my brain a spinning. Also, again, I want to wish you a happy Pride. I wound up not going to any Pride events this year. Just wasn't ready to do big crowds or lots of big events. Maybe next year. In some ways, I felt like I didn't really celebrate Pride this year. Then I missed going to see Sir Cupcake's Queer Circus and hanging out easily with friends and going to the big festival scene and the joyous celebrations. But I definitely did feel like I was celebrating Pride with all of you and all of your Pride TBRs and book lists and different LGBTQ tags and people doing the Stand With Trans Kids book tag. There was so much stuff happening in this world, and I'm just so grateful for all of you and for the community that we're creating here on BookTube. So thank you for letting me be my full authentic self in this space, and thank you for being you. Thank you for watching. I look forward to continuing the conversation, and I'm wishing you hope, love, courage, and joy. Happy Pride!